You're listening to Life and Shyt. I'm Danielle Walker.
And I'm Tommy Walker.
Join us as we talk about our journey overcoming fears, boundaries, marriage, family, lifestyle, business, and whatever other shit you can think of.
We're individuals that came together to create one unit with one mind and one goal.
Hey.
What's up, girl?
What's going on?
Another beautiful day in paradise. I'm over here playing with Instagram Live, Facebook Live
For the first time?
Yeah, I messed up the first time for the podcast. Yeah, I messed up the Instagram though. I don't think it posted, but the Facebook is there.
But you were getting shout outs.
I was, but you gotta hit it public. So for those that was there with us, at least they got to see.
They were your friends.
Yeah. But you can't see it after that.
That's okay. It's one of those you got to be there to see it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
we're gonna do better.
Well, I got a question for you.
Hit me.
Have you ever been evicted?
Have I ever been evicted? Mm-hmm. Hell no.
Why you guys say it like that?
Because being evicted is like not paying your bills.
So I recently did a podcast on credit, and yes, people don't pay their bills. It's the way it is. Like there's bad credit, there's good credit, and moving and evictions is like your bad credit, right? So that's like a whole nother thing, right? You're when people run your credit report, they can see that like,
if it went to court and you was evicted, 1,000%.
So never. What about your parents, or have you gone through that, or maybe you don't even know because, I mean, what is your answer?
So growing up, we were pretty stable. Like we lived in Far Rockaway, Queens for a decent amount of time. So like even just moving general, like first we never moved when I was a kid. Like I remember my home from as a kid up until the day I moved out, and that was it. So my parents was in that same house. So if they got evicted before me, I have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
If they could chime in on that, but
yeah. Or when you're a baby, like, because that's something you wouldn't have known. Yeah, right.
Because we lived in a family house. Like it was a family house, so we was always there, and never been evicted from that point. And then when my parents separated, I lived with my mother for a few years, and my only time I moved was moving from my mother's house to my father's house.
Okay. And
then I moved out of my father's house, and moving was like a new thing for me after that. But now you asked me if I ever been evicted. Now I'm not going to ask a rhetorical question because I know you've been evicted, and because it was on your credit report. And I remember, like you said, we just did a whole podcast on credit, and when we ran your credit report, that was at the bottom. And it said one eviction. I was like, hold up. So we always talk about relationships. This is things that don't come up when you talk.
This is real shit.
You know what I mean?
It's like things that we say you should do is like, okay, you should get like a health test, right? Like let's go get all of our fluids tests. Like, I'm sure you good, we good. And then let's run our credit reports and let's be honest about that, because why should you get married without knowing your history?
Credit,
right?
1,000%.
Say that's fucking awesome. You're right, but we were together first.
No, yeah, we was already we was already all in. So we moved in together, and and so Danielle had her own house, very nice, 2-bedroom, 1 bath in Southeast San Diego.
Not bad. I have a shower.
I was homeless at the time.
That's true.
And then we moved in together. And I didn't care about your living history, right? Until it was time for us to start making some purchases.
Like, at first, you didn't care.
Yeah, at first I was like, never even thought it crossed my mind.
So you started looking at people like, wait, what?
And then we ran our individual credits, and then at the bottom it said eviction. I was like, you got kicked out of your house, and then that whole story.
Yes. So and I'll be very, very, very honest with that story. I was young and I was fucking dumb. I'll be very honest. And I was in a situation where I paid rent, and I wasn't able to pay rent one month, and they didn't say anything. And then I paid it the next month.
The landlord didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything.
Okay.
It was a property management company.
Okay.
They were so cool. My heart goes out to them right now, and I love them to death. And I promise, the reason I give so much mercy now is because of my experiences then. Because I was given so much mercy, and then I paid the rent, and then I didn't pay the rent, and then I paid the rent.
rent
So it's like every other
month.
month. And then I got to where I was like, well, shit, it's greedy. I was like, they didn't notice that I'm paying it every other month. So then I didn't pay it for like 3 months. And then things got really bad life-wise, you know what I mean? And then they were like, wait a minute,
What's
you didn't
going on
pay. Yeah. So shout out to them because
they eventually caught it.
Yeah, and they had my back, I felt like, and they showed me lots of like mercy and like consideration, and were like, hey, what's going on? And then eventually they're like, yeah, you're out of here. But early on in life, I'm the oldest, and I had experienced quite often that notice on the door, and be like, so what is this? It's like the pay rent or quit. Like I seen that tons of times, and I was like,
so as a kid, so like your parents.
Yep. Growing up, it was like pay rent or quit. Like you have 3 days to pay the rent or quit, and it's like, Mom, what does this mean? Yeah, you taking the notice, and she's like, oh shit,
you know, could read.
Yeah, right. I was the oldest, so being the oldest, it's like you're kind of like privy to different conversations that happen, and you're involved in, or you're not even really involved, but you're around.
You're hustling.
Yeah. You're around, and they're just kind of letting it go. So yeah, and then when it comes to moving, I was kind of the one, not even kind of, I was the one I was more responsible in helping everyone get it together. Process. Yeah.
Do you feel like as the older kid in your family, it was beneficial for you to know these? It wasn't like you was involved in a conversation, but you were privy to them.
I was, and I should never have been evicted after knowing all of that. But then I think because of it, I kind of understood the way to get kind of over. Yeah. Was like, well, I guess this happens. And I had always learned like, they have to take you through this court process. And, you know, so I was taught like on the flip side. Yeah. Yes. But I will say that first experience was as humbling as I've ever been in my life. And I will never go through it again because it hurt because, like I said, that company, they were nice. I don't know if they didn't know me personally or whatever, but I feel as if they showed me some kind of mercy. I mean, I was 19 years old when I had my first apartment. You know what I mean? So, and I was taking care of my brothers and sisters at the time, and I had my own child. So, it was I was really trying my hardest to hold it down. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't just not pay the rent. I wasn't just being like some asshole or something. I was working 2 jobs, bona fide. My life situation changed.
Was you in California at the time?
I was in California at the time. Yeah. And it was a time where I had just acquired responsibilities that I really didn't even know how to handle. It's like mouse in the house to feed, and I was a 19-year-old child at the time, you know. So that's when I got my first eviction. Okay,
so your responsibilities grew, and then it was like, well, shit, I have my bills increased, right? Because the more people, for those that always want to go and say, hey, can I stay with you, or can I stay here for whatever, or is it okay just because somebody has an extra room? Like, just because they have an extra room don't mean they have extra money to spend. Extra body in the house is extra
electricity.
It's more money,
water,
everything, right?
Garbage.
Yeah, it's so you got to take that in consideration if you're looking for help. So when somebody says, "Well, how long are you going to be here?" It was like, "Well, shit, don't ask me how long because I don't know." You got to have a plan. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. But in your situation, that's not like that. But in retrospect, at 19 years old, you wasn't planning on taking care of 3 other kids.
No,
including your own.
Right? Yeah. So, and then at 19 years old, I mean, shit, I had my own shit. You know what I mean? Like I was running my own house. But in moving, like according to the Census Bureau, it's about the average of Americans move about 11 times in their lifetime.
That's accurate, because even when I was in real estate, we used to bank on people buying and selling their homes at least 7 times, so we could count on that client, depending on how long you were in the business. You could count on one client to give you at least 5 to 7 transactions.
Yeah. So just to be clear, we're not talking about evictions this episode. No. We're talking about moving. We just want to start off with moving without really wanting to, or kind of being kicked out, right?
That is,
which
moving
is different.
not fun.
No.
Unless you're moving because it's like, yo, I've been looking forward to this new job, or I've been looking forward to a new city, right? And then it's like, I can't wait to move.
Well, yeah, and that's different because, like, as a kid, and you didn't really have that experience because if you were in New York, all you moved was like from South Side to like the other
Far Rockaway to South Side.
Yeah,
literally, that was it.
Yeah, and like for us, we moved from one area in California all the way to a whole nother area in California, right? So it was like, it sucked because your friends, literally, you have none of the same friends. Were you able to still have the same friends?
1,000%.
Oh, see, that's pretty awesome.
So when we moved from Far Rockaway, we lived in Springfield Gardens. That's where we lived.
Okay.
Springfield Gardens, Queens, which is like a neighborhood just outside of Jamaica, Queens. But it was literally a bus ride back to Far Rockaway. So I was still hanging out with all my friends, cousins, and I went to the same school for a while, in that transition. And then when I went to high school, that's when the whole thing, and then that's when you had a whole new friends. But in New York, it don't matter where you live in New York. All your friends is like,
No, if you stay in the same borough.
No, not even if you're in the same borough. Like if you're in Queens and you got friends in Brooklyn or you got friends in Manhattan, like that's legitimately an hour away. So like in San Diego, like we're currently in San Diego, or no matter where you are in this country, an hour away, you think about that ride. You like, oh, people will think twice about going from San Diego to Temecula. And then if they go to Temecula, like, yo, I'm at to stay tonight because of traffic.
You said an hour away like it wasn't nothing. I'm like, hour away, like you might as well live across the country.
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, from San Diego to LA is 2 hours away, right? Like, if you have a friend in LA, like we got friends in LA that we haven't seen in years, and I miss them like crazy.
Oh,
like,
I just reached out to Sheena today. I don't know who you talked to. Yeah, they did a renovation in their house. We talk about that. Yeah, see, we literally haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah, so
miss you, girl.
Haven't seen them in years, but it's only 2 hours away. In New York, a 2 hour train ride, a 2 hour bus, like all that's just normal for us. You know what I mean? Like that, the distance in New York is not as extreme as everywhere else in the country.
So when we first moved, we moved from, I want to say, I don't remember initially where we lived, but we were in Lake LA. From Lake LA, we moved to somewhere in middle California. Then we were only there for maybe 3 or 4 months. Then we moved to Lompoc, which is central California. Then from there, we moved back down towards LA. Damn. And then we moved back
all in 1
to
year?
Lompoc. This was just through the course of my elementary school years.
Okay.
Into the beginning of middle school, right? So I moved, I want to say 4 times in the midst of, and we kind of talked about that when we talked on another podcast. So in the midst of all this, we moved 4 times. And then from there, we moved to Gary, Indiana. That was the biggest move, right? Yeah. And that was like friends.
That's a whole lifestyle.
It was a culture change, culture shock for all of us. And we'll talk about that on something different as well. So then we moved back from Indiana to California. And that was still different because I left California as like in middle school, barely becoming a woman. And then I went to Gary, Indiana, and then came back with such different eyes. So that was a trip. So moving taught me a lot of different things.
Were you ever excited about moving?
Only when we came back to California.
Okay.
Yeah, because Gary, Indiana was it was hard.
Yeah, you were just like, I'm ready to get out of that place. It wasn't even about coming back to California. It was just getting out of there.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
Yeah, it was hard and it was sad. And coming from some place like sunny California to Gary, Indiana, it was rough. And then moving as an adult was different as well. I remember when we first moved into our
your
place.
move was gangster.
Yep. Yeah, it was. There was we didn't box anything. We literally bagged the whole house. Trash bags.
Yard bags. The big black yard bags. You had like 15 of them.
Yep. No, it was way more than that, babe. I mean, we bagged the whole house. And I love my brothers and sisters because they always had my back, and they were like, there. And they were like, are you moving? Like, yep. They're like, all right, come on, we're doing this. They bagged every single thing. Everything was bagged.
Your earrings is making noise in the microphone.
Oh, okay. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Okay, sorry. They were last time.
It's because you're moving your neck a lot.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, okay. But no, they did. I called them. They showed up. and we bagged the house. I say, instead of boxing the house up to move, bag the hell out of the house.
That was before getting the bag was getting the bag.
Yeah, right.
You was getting the bag, not the bag we talk about today.
But we got the job done, and we moved everything, and we did it quickly, but it was different.
And I remember that because so Danielle and I was moving in together, and nobody knew. Like nobody had any idea that we were even together.
Because we were sneaking.
Yeah, because it was a secret. You had to have top secret clearance to understand our relationship. And then when we got the place together, and I showed up, and like you said, it was your brother and two of your sisters was helping you move at the time, and they seen me, they was like, "What the fuck? Like, why is he here?"
Oh, they seen your clothes in the closet too.
Yeah, and I was like, "This is my house, homie."
I was like, "What?" I'm silly. So another thing too, that first time when we moved in, that I think is important for people to know is that like everything's negotiable, right? Yeah. So do you recall that? So we moved in, and they're like, okay, so this is I want to say my third apartment or condo or whatever. The first one was a condo. Second place I had was a house. Was a house. The first place was a townhouse.
Okay.
And then there was a condo. Yeah, house. And then when we moved in together, right? So the condo, I was really, really fortunate because the guy was really nice. He only charged me the rent.
Did he give you the cute girl discount?
Yeah, he did. And then he gave me, so he only charged me rent when I moved in, right? And then he was selling the condo, so we had to move out. And then he's like, I know I only charge you the rent, but I'm also going to give you the deposit. And also.
And he gave you money?
Yeah. Yeah, because he was putting me out, so to speak. You know what I mean? And he was so nice.
He gave you less than 60-day notice?
Yeah, he gave me more than 60-day notice.
Oh,
actually,
more than 60-day notice, and still put money in your pocket.
Yeah, that was super fortunate. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I had after my first bad experience in renting, I had really good experiences because I really got to know who I was renting from, and they trusted me, I trusted them, and I just talked to them, you know. And then, which leads me into when we actually moved in together, and the person who we were renting from was like, "Oh, you got to pay the security, and then also like a deposit." And I was like, "Well,
3 times the rent." That's always what I told the kids. It's like you got to have in your account 3 times whatever your rent is going to be.
Yep, and that's important because they want to see that, and they want to know like if you're making at least twice the rent, right? So it's like you can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to move into this place. It's $1,200. I make $1,200 a month." They're going to be like, "Nah, fuck that," because you got to pay your bills and this and this and that. But a lot of times, people don't understand that as well. And then they also want you to drop down that big heavy deposit and security to start. But I was like, nah, bump that. Like, can we pay you a little bit at a time? And then they're like, yeah. And you're like, I never thought about that. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be creative. Like, I'll pay you my rent, and then I'm going to pay you $200 towards my security deposit until it's done, right? And then it's like, and shout out to them because they were like, okay, if that's what you want to do. But I always say everything is negotiable, man. That's anytime true. I ever go anywhere, I'm like, nah. And then, so the reason even why we own a house now to when we were, to what made us be like, nah, man, fuck that. It was they raised our rent. So they raised our rent $100. I was livid, you guys. I'm not even going to lie. I'm like, what? Like nothing changed in my house, nothing at all. Like you didn't put any value into this place, but I didn't get any raise. I didn't inform them that I got an increase in my job or, on my check, but you decided to just put $100 whole on. So $1,200 is what you expect me to come up with is how I gave it to them. And they were like, oh, like, I guess you're right. You know what I mean? But they didn't change it. They were like, so we'll make sure that this doesn't happen for the next 2 or 3 years, right? Like, so you should feel good about that. And I appreciate you, babe, because you were like, nah, fuck that. We're not going to do that.
Yep. And that's when the game changed for us. We moved. That was our first move. And I mean, at the end of the day, too, it was a 2-bedroom. We had 4 kids. I was part-time at the time. Working a part-time job, and it was my first real job outside the military. So as I started making more money, it was like, all right, now I could carry my weight. Huh?
We had 3 at Alvarado.
No, this was El Cajon.
Oh, that first.
El Cajon is when they raised the rent $1,200 a year, and then you was like, nah, this is not going down. And then Bonita is when it was $2,000 a month, and then we was like, if we're paying $2,000 for a house we're renting at the time, everybody was like, well, you could buy a house for that price. And we was like, really? And then our neighbors bought a house.
I thought Bonita is when they raised the rent, and that was our last place that we actually paid rent. And
but we didn't lock into a lease.
Because they offered us the lease.
Yeah,
and instead of it, so it was Bonita.
No, it was El Cajon when you went off though, because you went off on the owner and the dude that was the maintenance guy
that was
for the house.
Okay, that's when we negotiated.
How about you went off on all the owners for every house that we?
Well, and then we moved out of Bonita. Yeah, I did go off on them because they didn't want to give us our deposit back.
Exactly. So and that's the thing, because they were saying the carpet was all fucked up. We was
the carpet was fucked up when we got here.
Exactly. So and then with El Cajon, we had put people in that place, and you were like, well, because we had friends that was living there, and we had and your sister. So
but they never raised the rent on us there.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. Yep. And you complained because the hot tub wasn't working.
I thought we just moved there because we moved to Alvarado. It wasn't because we weren't going to. But then we had 2 people move there. But that's another story.
And Alvarado was a whole nother opportunity that we had to get out of. But at the end of the day, my moves were much different because I had military moves. And when I joined the military, yes, big move from New York to Chicago, being in boot camp. From boot camp to Mississippi. We was in Mississippi for, I think, a month, and then I had to move to Alabama. I was in Alabama for a month, and then moved back to Mississippi, and then from Mississippi to California. And then in California, it felt like I was moving every single year. So moving was never fun to me.
Yeah, military life is different.
Nah, but in military life, my moves were very simple because if it didn't fit in my sea bag,
I was gonna say,
it wasn't going.
It's only what you got on your back.
That's it. Yeah. If I couldn't carry it, it wasn't going.
Yeah.
So my sea bag, so that made me a minimalist almost, and kind of like how I am today. Is like
that makes sense.
I don't need this shit.
Yeah.
I don't need none of this extra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
in the military, it's funny because the only way that you would move is if you get different orders, right?
Exactly.
It's like this is what. But then everywhere else, if you move, the only reason that you would do it is for certain things, right? Like, so if your relationship changes, is a reason that you would move. So it's like if you split up or you get married, that's different, right? I remember when we first moved in together, we had to. It's different. You have to share things.
Got like 2 of everything.
Well,
I didn't have 2. I didn't have shit because I was homeless. So
no. You came with some things though. I want to say we had like 2 waffle makers or something like that.
And a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Because I had that Kirby. If you've ever had a Kirby vacuum cleaner, you understand. That's a very expensive vacuum cleaner.
He wanted in the divorce.
I won the Kirby in the divorce. That's the only thing I wanted in the divorce.
Another reason you may want to move is something new. Like I just want something fresh, right?
I feel like that now. Like now, I feel like moving. Yeah. I feel like I want something fresh. Granted, we have our home in Mexico, which is pretty dope. We just moved in Mexico this year. Damn, we still moving.
Oh yeah, we always move.
Yeah, and I hate moving. Like I remember when I think I was 30 years old. Yeah, it was when I turned 30 years old and we was moving, and I was like, I will never move our furniture again. And that was the first time we ever hired movers.
That's a different move. Yep, because usually it's like you move yourself. Like I told you, like we shared about me bagging, and then from the bagging we did like we're organized, where you write kitchen on the box and you write dishes.
We thought we was grown up.
Yeah, and then from there we was like, we ain't even moving this shit. You gonna have somebody else do it.
Exactly. And then even packing. Like I'm like, fuck, I don't even like packing now.
Yeah, it's true.
So when we moved to Mexico, it was dope because the guys that work in the building helped us move. We just moved upstairs.
Yeah.
And those dudes a few dollars. We gave them a few dollars and some beers. But I was helping them too. We knocked that shit out in like 2 hours.
Yeah. It was done.
Yeah.
Beds, all kind of stuff. Yeah. The whole house. It was awesome. Another reason that people will move is downsizing, right? So it's like you want something new or you downsize. And I think people kind of go through both phases. Like the kids move and they're like, oh, we want to move into this small little condo. And then they are in the condo for a couple of years and it's like, oh, I think I want a house.
My house back.
Yeah. the luxury of just like kind of living in a house and not having a shared wall.
Yeah.
You know, I think people like that privacy, you know what I mean? So I think that's huge.
I have a minimum. As long as my house is a certain size, I don't care if it's a house or a condo. As long as I can move my elbows around.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not into that tiny home thing, but you know, I also don't need 4 bedrooms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could do a tiny house, but not the tiny house. You know, I mean, I'm okay with that.
So one thing that you mentioned about evictions and moving, and how you learned a lot, and you're very grateful about, you know, people taking care of you in all of your moves when you were younger. Now, as a property owner, I feel like that same thing too. Like we have conversations with our tenants. You know, we own multiple properties, and legitimately, like, we'll get text messages or emails from tenants saying, "Hey, I can't pay rent on the first because of, especially now, you know, whatever the situation is. Is it okay if I pay on the 9th, or is it okay if I pay on a?" To me, as long as we communicate, then it's cool. And I'll remove the fee. Like, you know, everybody has a late fee and all that stuff. I'll remove the late fee if we had a conversation, and it's like, all right, cool, no problem. Remove that late fee, and you pay it in as long as you pay it when you're supposed to. I don't think we've ever had any real tenant issues.
No, I'm very grateful for that. Yes.
But and honestly, I feel like that's that karma, like, because of what you've been through, and even though I never went through evictions, but because of all the moves and understanding moves in and family and situations, it's like, I don't want to be that kind of a landlord either.
Right.
You know, and people ask about property management. It's like, even if I hired a property manager, I would still be like, hey, if they communicate with you, don't charge them $25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On top of it.
Yeah. And in a sense too, that sucks, right? Because I cannot pay rent, and then you're going to charge me for not paying rent. It's like, it doesn't even feel good, you know, on this side of the spectrum, to be honest.
Yeah. But if we're having a conversation, I know it's like, oh, well, you know, whatever the situation, you know, was, then it's like, all right, I could totally understand. So, you know, you want to be conscious of how you're moving when you're a property manager, and take into consideration, you know, like you said, your history, where you came from. You know what I mean? Don't be that kind of a landlord. Yeah.
Don't be an asshole.
You said it that way. An asshole.
Another couple other reasons that people would want to move is close to work, right? Like, I think that would be a good thing. Like, we were kind of playing with the idea of living in downtown, which would be closer to our office. So it's like almost no commute. So if you could just like walk to work.
Be more efficient.
So moving is crazy. Moving sucks. But move. You experience new things. You get to be around new people. And it's amazing.
It is. It's part of the journey, the journey of life, especially if you feel stagnant. You know what I mean? So rattle your cage a little bit and get outside the box. And if you like your neighborhood, you know what I mean, move around the corner. Like, you can stay in the same neighborhood, right? Just move around the corner
to another.
Something like that is a cage rattle.
Yeah, upgrade in your own neighborhood.
Exactly.
Right? If you're making more money, move to upgrade.
Or if you're in the building, move upstairs.
Yeah, true.
You know, like we did.
Yeah.
You know, so you definitely have opportunity. Moving is definitely a project. So, you know, plan your project, get everybody involved, be excited about it.
Yes.
Please never have to move because you got evicted.
Yeah.
Like, let's just stay on top of that.
Please.
Because that shit will follow you for a long time.
Yes, and communicate.
Communicate to your landlord, property manager, whoever. More than likely, they're not, how Danielle would say, assholes.
They're not a whole ass.
This is Lyfe and Shyt.
Love you, baby.
I love you. Do us a favor. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Leave a review. Let us know what your thoughts are. That's the only way that this show is going to be successful. And we appreciate you. Talk with you next time.